everybody, and welcome back to You Can't Win. This is Tom here, and I'm joined by Don as usual. Today we have a special returning guest, Ach, and we are going to be talking about Hajj and his experience with Hajj. He recently made the pilgrimage to Mecca and brought back a lot of fun stories that he was telling us about. So it would be, I don't know, we just thought it would be cool to share that with you guys. And I know a lot of people have been requesting an episode on Hajj, and it's not something I know too much about, so Ak has a little bit more experience with that, and he can enlighten all of us.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Happy to be back.
Cool. So maybe first thing is we should just explain the basics of like what Hajj is and all that, because maybe people know the basic idea, but they don't really know much beyond that. So yeah, I don't know. How would you explain it?
Right. So it's the pilgrimage to Mecca, right? It's one of the 5 pillars of Islam. It's obligatory on every Muslim, as long as they have, they have there's like a lot of different like requirements for them to fulfill it. But if you feel like the monetary requirement, the responsibility requirement, the age requirement, it's obligatory on Muslims, and it's basically a pilgrimage where you do certain rituals in the city of Mecca and around the Great Mosque, the Kaaba. And yeah, it's a pretty long process, but pretty interesting as well.
So,
yeah.
You say it's obligatory. Like, is it something that most Muslims do in their life, or is it just like a fraction of them that will end up being able to do it?
I know, like, historically, it was very rare for people to do it unless they lived like in the immediate vicinity.
Okay.
Like I remember reading about like Indonesian Muslims, right? And obviously that's very far away. That's like a very long distance to travel. It's very difficult in like, say, 16th century or something to make that trek. It was like a big deal when the Sultan of that area was able to make it to do like a pilgrimage. And it was like this kind of it wasn't like something that they neglected in terms of like their belief or their like valuing it. They didn't kind of figure like, oh well, that's that's for the Arabs or something like that. It was something they kind of talked about, and it was like part of their a central part of their idea about what Islam is. But it was always sort of like this thing that maybe one day somebody will get to go, kind of a thing. And so when the Sultan went, it was like a really big deal.
So nowadays, would it be much more like common, or I mean, not this year
so.
or two, but yeah. Because I saw last year only about 1,000 people were allowed, and this year they're limiting it to like 60,000 people that live in Saudi Arabia. So I don't know.
Well, definitely the numbers are much higher nowadays. It costs like a few grand, I think, a few $1,000s. Does that sound right, Ak?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, I don't know, maybe, I mean, there's a lot more Muslims nowadays, right? It's like billions. So I'm not sure if the ratio has changed, but yeah, it's a pretty significant monetary commitment.
Right. Especially if you're
not a lot
like,
of people are able to do it.
Developing country, you know what I mean? Like it's a lot of money.
Right. But I think a lot of countries, their government actually helps them go to Hajj. I know India is one of them, actually, ironically.
They're sending him on one-way tickets.
No, I think it was like one of the compromises that they had like back in the day.
Sure.
But I know India is one. I think Indonesia pays for some people's. I think some of the more better organized countries, they pay for people's Hajjs. But yeah, it's a pretty significant monetary commitment.
I remember reading about Soviet Muslims, like Central Asian Muslims. Originally it was like kind of not happening, they were sort of suppressing Islam and all of that for a while, and then it kind of changed. I think they started to view it as like a potential diplomatic thing where they could like send people to Mecca and make connections with other people and stuff, and it would be like a boon for the Soviet Union diplomatically. So then they started to actually like subsidize it and send people, provide all the funding and everything for it. So yeah, it's kind of an interesting thing.
So
right, I think from the Tsardom days they were banning Muslims from going because they were getting, I don't know, radicalized or something like that, they claimed. And then carried through to the Soviet times. I think somebody was posting about that the other day.
Yeah, the whole situation with the like end of the Tsarist period and Central Asia is kind of interesting because they were always really like not able to fully like penetrate that area and properly like colonize it or whatever. It was always more like this kind of like vassal sort of situation. And then they started to industrialize a little bit in the end of the 19th century, and then they started to look to Central Asia as like, okay, here's our chance, we can move in there. It wasn't really until the Soviet period that really kicked into high gear.
Mm-hmm. So what is the Hajj itself? Like, does it represent some, like something that Muhammad did or something, or I'm not sure how that works.
I think, I mean, according to Islam, like the traditional, like Islamic view, it was I want to say a ritual that we believe, I think it's Ibrahim alayhi salam, Prophet Abraham, that they believe, Muslims believe that he started the first Hajj.
Mm-hmm.
And the traditional account goes that Ibrahim alayhi salam, he left his wife Hajar, or Hagar, I think it is in English, with his son Ishmael, or Ismail in Arabic. And there's this whole thing about how they weren't able to find water in the then abandoned or uninhabited Mecca Valley, and that the first rituals of Hajj were actually Hajar going through, the hills of Safa and Marwa looking for water for her infant that was just left there by Abraham. So I think that's the first, that's the Islamic account, but I think historically as well, it was like a pagan Arab ritual before Islam started, or paganified, depending on who you listen to.
Yeah, they definitely.
Do you know a little bit more about that?
A little bit. I know that was definitely the case, that like the pagan Arabs were, they had their own rituals and stuff around the Kaaba. They would bring their idols. Each of these different clans and tribes and stuff would like bring their idols to the Kaaba, and I think they would do the whole circumambulation around the Kaaba, like, just walking around it in a circle, and I think clapping and doing stuff like that. And so the Islamic perspective is like Muhammad kind of rectified this practice and kind of restored it to not only to like worship of one God instead of this, pantheon of different idols and stuff, but also like change some of the actual practices of the Hajj. So it is something that the pagan Arabs were doing, but then the specific practices changed. And so, what Ak was describing with the, with Hajjers, like going to the hills and stuff for water, that's like the first of, I believe it's like 7 stages. Is that right? 7 different specific things that you do on Hajj?
There's a lot, actually, depending on like how you like split it up.
Okay, I guess I'm thinking of like the specific things to make like a valid Hajj, like the required, like you have to do this and this and this to make it a valid Hajj. Maybe we can kind of walk through that as best we understand it. So like the first thing is the ihram, right? Like, so you have to wear a certain garment if you're a man. I believe women just wear whatever, their normal clothing is, but men have to wear this sort of like it's like a white sheet. It sort of looks like a kind of like a toga kind of a thing. You've probably seen pictures of that. And then they shave their heads. Right.
Ihram is I think it's like 2, well, not think, I wore it, right? It's like 2, like you said, like togas kind of. They're like sheets of like linen, basically. You're not aware to wear any sewn clothes as a man. Mm-hmm. So like no underwear, like you're going commando, you're wearing 2 sheets, and you got to learn to wrap that really quick. So it's pretty interesting.
It's probably pretty comfortable.
Yeah, it's pretty funny
when
actually.
It's like hot,
It was, but I mean, it was pretty funny. Like we had a couple of like really old dudes with us, and like there's one guy like fighting the sheikh who's leading us. He's like, "No, like what do you mean no underwear? Like I'm wearing this." So it's pretty interesting. You can only wear those 2, and you got to learn how to wrap it. One around your waist, one around your shoulders and upper area. So, and then women just wear whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then so I think the first one is that walking back and forth. I think it's 7 times.
Right, right. I think your tawaf around the Kaaba is one of the first things I
Oh,
believe.
that's first.
That you
Okay,
do.
so the tawaf is
Yeah,
walking
yeah.
around the Kaaba in a circle.
Right. I mean, well, so usually people do like Umrah with Hajj. Umrah is like a minor pilgrimage. You can do it any time. So usually, like one of the first things that you do is you come into Mecca, and there's like a certain distance around, like which is historically considered like the limits of the city or the limits of the Haram, the forbidden area, the holy area. So you have to like wear your, if I remember correctly, wear your ihram clothes from there, and then usually people do like just a quick umrah right before that, and they just you do your tawaf as your umrah.
That's all you need to do
As
for
one of the first
Umrah
things.
is a tawaf.
It's I swear somebody's gonna like cancel me for like not remembering the correct stuff after this, but I believe it's you do your ihram, you enter the state of ihram, you do your tawaf, your 7 like circles around the Kaaba, and then you do the circuits between the hills of Safa and Marwa, and then you shave your hair, and then that's it, I believe, if I remember correctly.
Okay. Yeah. So what was that like for you? I don't know. Like, why don't you kind of tell us about the whole like that initial stage of pilgrimage? Like, how did you kind of organize it, get going with it, and what was it like landing in in Mecca or wherever, I guess wherever the plane landed and all that.
Oh man, that's it's very very different, I guess. I mean, I've never really been to like that part of the world before I went to Hajj. I've been to like Southeast Asian stuff, but it's really different. You land usually into Jeddah. I think Jeddah is it's a city on the coast, near Mecca. It's like the international entry point into Mecca. So usually like 90% of people, non-domestic people, they enter from Jeddah. You step down, and there's like it's like not a normal airport process. It's like they have their own Hajj process. Like you get herded into like different areas, and then usually like you step down, you find your travel group if you're with a group, as most people go with, and from there they just get you all into Mecca as soon as possible.
Cool. So yeah, like it's mostly done, as you said, by like these organized groups and whatnot, and I think that cuts down on the cost of things for people. But like, can you do it just on your own?
I don't know if they let you go on your own. I know it's fairly like trivial to get your own group started. I know a lot of people that have like their own little Hajj tour groups.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not sure if you can go on your own. I know that if you're domestic, I have family in Saudi, and they were like able to just show up, like just drive into town and show up. But I'm not sure if international people are allowed to go without a group.
Okay.
It's probably not a good idea to go without a group.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense, and there's so many people that go at that period of time. I watched this like quick little documentary about it, and I forget how many more times than the number of people that go to the Super Bowl is, but it was like 10, 15 times more people than show up for the Super Bowl all at once, because it's like all, you're supposed to do it during that specific month, and usually people do it kind of like even right after Ramadan, right? So a lot of people showing up all at once to do the same exact thing, go to the same exact place.
Mm-hmm. So how long were you in Saudi Arabia for, like the entire time, like for the whole length of it?
Yeah, so I was in Saudi Arabia for about, I want to say like almost 4 weeks.
Oh wow, yeah.
Three and a half, like 20 something days. But that wasn't all Hajj. I would say Hajj was about like half of that. It's about 2 weeks, a little bit more maybe.
Mm-hmm. And when you were staying there, was it what kind of accommodations did they have for your kind of group? And are those sort of like unequal between different types of groups, or is that just like everyone gets the same situation?
Oh, it's very unequal.
Okay, yeah.
You get what you pay for essentially. And like really like extreme amount of what you get what you pay for.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's people that are like on the street basically, coming from certain areas, and then there's other people with like massive triple duplex, tents and like accommodations and things like that. So, it really depends on your group. It's really them booking everything for you, and it's just based on how much you're willing to pay.
Mm-hmm. And how was your experience with that side of things?
It was interesting. We kind of got finessed, I would say, me and my family. We paid a lot of money, and we ended up this is not like normal at all. Like I don't want people to think like this is like what happens in Hajj, but like we kind of went with a shady group, and we thought we were gonna get like really good accommodations, and we did for half of the time. Like the first half we were there, we were in really nice accommodations, and then the second half, like everything just kind of fell apart, and we had to like find our own places and our own accommodations. So, but usually, it's just like it goes everywhere from like that huge tower, like a penthouse in there, to like, a hovel basically. Mm-hmm. And it's just based on like how much you pay for it. But ours, we were in the, basically we were in like this annex to like the huge clock tower that they have, like the building right next to it, like overlooking the Kaaba. Like we were there for like half of the time, and then like we got screwed over basically, and we had to go to like a really bad part of town. I want to say bad, but like a not so nice part of town for like half of the time we were in Mecca.
And is it like, are all the meals sort of provided by the group and things like that, or is it sort of fend for yourself to some extent?
I mean, usually your group will do that for you as part of like the hotel package. So like when we were in like the Tower Hotel, all the like you got your 3 meals a day. But there's other, like the other place that we went to, like I think they only had dinner, I want to say. And then some people like they don't get that at all. It's like basically just a bunch of different packages.
Sure.
And it just depends on what you get. But that's when you're in Mecca and like not in like the tent city. There's like this one part of the Hajj rituals where you're like in tents in Mina, and there you get, I think the Hajj committee actually gives people food. They all like feed all the pilgrims, but you can also pay for your own food if you want like better than just like the basic. But yeah,
cool.
So lots of different choices.
Yeah, so what was it like with so many people? Was like that pretty crazy, or is it well organized, or like what was that like?
Yeah, I've literally never seen that many people in my life. Like there's points like right before the couple days that you have between like your first Umrah that most people usually do, and then like the actual Hajj rituals, and like before you go to the tent city and stuff. Yeah, there's like no walking space at all. Like it's like millions and millions and millions of people from like every corner of the world. Yeah, it is just like super crazy, and there isn't really like public transport. Like it's a lot of like taxis and like minivans. Like there's no like subway or anything like that. So it's like, it's basically what you imagine. It's like the worst jam that you've ever seen at certain times after like prayers and before prayers and stuff like that. So
yeah. And so let's just get back to the specific rites and stuff of the Hajj real quick. So those all have to happen on a certain day of the month, right? Like it's not like you can kind of set your own schedule. Those are all kind of set. Is that right?
Right. So the Hajj is like a certain month of the year always. I believe like Dhul Hijjah, I think. Don't kill me.
No,
again.
that's right. That means month of Hajj. So I'm pretty sure that's right.
Right. Right. And there's certain days. The last day is Eid al-Adha, and like every like major ritual has its specific day or specific 2 days that you have to do it on. So yeah, they all have their own days. Everybody's like doing the same thing.
Yeah. So
basically.
millions of people all trying to do the same thing in the same place on the same day.
Right.
Yeah. So first is, entering Ihram for men. Then there's, if you're doing Umrah, there's the Tawaf. And then I think the first one is the, like we said, what's it called? The going back and forth between the hills, right? Like, what's that called? Do you remember?
Safa and Marwa, the hills.
That's the name of the hills.
I think it's called Sa'i.
Sa'i, right, yeah,
like
yeah.
yeah.
So that's the first one.
Right.
I think I don't remember the order, but I'll just kind of like from I don't know. Maybe you can help me out with this. So then I think you go to Mount Arafat.
Okay, so I know for Umrah it's just Ihram and then Tawaf and then Safa and Marwa, but I think for Hajj, you enter the state of Ihram and then you do the days at Mina where you are just like posted out and doing like your Mina rituals basically. You stay there all day and all night.
Which is just praying, right? Or is there something else?
Right. You just pray. You do your ritual prayers there, your 5 daily, and like it's just a little bit outside of, not really outside of Mecca. I guess the city expanded to it, but it's like its specific area where it's just like a tent city, and that's like I believe that's one of the first steps of Hajj.
Yeah. So when you're there, and praying doesn't take a huge amount of your day. So what are you doing the rest of the time?
I mean, like it's up to you. Like some people who are like not doing anything, right? But like if there's a lot of like, we believe there's like a lot of blessings in those days. So like you just read Quran,
Sure.
You, basically just make a lot of du'a. Yeah, you basically have to stay there, but like you're in your tents, and you're just praying and doing a lot of worship.
Yeah, and Ramadan is the month before. So you're sort of already, I would imagine, in that mode. And what a lot of people do for the last 10 days of Ramadan is go into like seclusion in the mosques and just kind of hang out there all day. They do their prayers there, and then the rest of the day you're kind of like, reading Quran, just contemplating, it's that kind of a thing. So I imagine that something similar to that is going on.
Right. I think Ramadan's a little bit before that, but yeah, you're definitely doing a lot of prayer, a lot of contemplating. It's definitely like the environment. Millions of people's in tents. You're in a tent with your whole group. It's like very like whoa, like type like like what, like you're like in a different space. Like mentally and physically.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about that. What was that experience like? Like, is it a different sort of feeling or what?
Yeah, I mean, like it's like totally. I don't even know how to explain it. Like, it's like kind of surreal in a sense. It's like, because like literally everybody's in Mina at that point. So like there's quite literally like several, like at least 2-3 million people like camped out, right? And you're just there, and like it's a sea of tents. I think it's arranged by nation or like continent that they arrange it by. Yeah, it's very surreal and like humbling. Like you all have your head shaved. You're all in these white robes. You feel like you're just part of like a churning mass of like people.
And what is it like with other people? Like your interactions with other people, even if you're not necessarily like engaging them in some long conversation or whatever, like just kind of being around people. Does it sort of feel the same way like just any other day, or does it have like a different sort of, different kind of thing going on?
I mean, at that point, I think I was with my group for like at least a week and a half, 2 weeks at that point. We arrived a little bit earlier. So yeah, it was a lot. I made a lot of good friends there. We had some imams and shuyukh there, like Islamic leaders, and they were like, teaching us different prayers to say, and like, so yeah, I had pretty good camaraderie with a lot of people in my group, and I was just
so people are kind of like in good spirits. They're kind of like nice, even though there's so many people crammed into these areas. It's maybe a little bit nicer than you might expect, I guess.
It kind of depends. I mean, we had a lot of like, I mean, you'll see like a lot of people who are older. Like I was like probably one of the youngest people there. It's a lot of older people, and like, with like, they might have problems and stuff like that. And then there's like a lot of people bring like people with, I don't want to say chronic illnesses, but like you can tell they're a little bit, maybe not in the best health, I guess.
Sure.
because I guess they want healing, or maybe they're feeling like they're at the end of their life and they just want to do their Hajj. Yeah. So it's not like everybody's not like chipper and things like that, but there's a lot of people, who need help and things of that nature. But it's a lot better than what you would expect for that many people there in such a small space.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're at Minna, then the next day, like I said, I think it's the day when you go to Arafat, right?
Right. That is the one of the days of Hajj. It's like a small like hill / like I wouldn't even say mountain. It's like a little. It's not that big. But that's where the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam gave his farewell address. I think that was his last public address before he passed away.
Right. Yeah. So that's pretty famous. I think many Muslims know the content of that. He says stuff like, the famous anti-racism stuff about white's not better than black and black's not better than white.
Right.
Men aren't better than women. Women aren't better than men. All that kind of stuff.
Right. Right. That's very, everybody knows about the Mount Arafah. I think it might have been one of the places that the Prophet did his first lectures.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So what do you do there for Hajj? What's the deal?
You do your prayers, but that's the day where you do your supplications. That's the day where like you pray your heart out, right? Mm-hmm. Like if you have any prayers that you wanted to do, anything you wanted to ask of God, anything you want to get off your chest, that's the day where you're basically on this hill and you're just praying your heart out from like sunset till sunrise. You just raise your hands and then just ask anything of God, and I think that's considered one of the best days of Hajj to like get your prayers answered. So
okay,
everybody's just on the hill just wailing their hearts out.
Yeah, that's gotta be pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right. And so the next day, I think, is the stoning of the devil, throwing the rocks at the devil.
Yeah, so that night you pray out. Actually, that night you go to Muzdalifah. It's another area. You leave the tents and you go to Muzdalifah, which is like other area. And that's kind of a weird night. You like have to pray, you have to sleep out in the sky. Like just out in the open, like no tents.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty interesting. Like people were like going out like claiming spots, and like a lot of people get lost. Like we got lost from our main group. We're just like sleeping in random areas.
Do you have to sleep like right on the ground, or can you sleep on like a mat or sleeping bag kind of?
I think you can sleep on a mat, but like there's like you can't sleep in like a tent or anything like that, or like people just sleep on mats on the ground. Like there's no segregation at all. Like any part during Hajj is just like men and women like right next to each other. Yeah, it's pretty weird. Like you're just in the sun, like millions of people just sleeping on the ground, or like in the night, I guess.
Yeah, I bet you wake up pretty early. Oh, because I remember when I was in Jordan, we spent, I think it was just one night, but we went out to Wadi Rum, which is just like, it's kind of like in the middle of the desert basically. And, even being in a tent, like the sun, when it comes up at like 4 or 5 in the morning, obviously it depends on what time of the year and everything, but that's when the sun rose at that point. And I was just wide awake just because of how bright everything was. So I imagine that's probably the same kind of deal.
Yeah, I was pretty slumped the night before because it's kind of hard to find a spot to sleep. Plus you're like on your own kind of that night because like nobody's able to find like stay with their whole group, right?
Sure.
But yeah, that sun will cook you. Like you'll wake up whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
You're not sleeping in.
Yeah.
Was it like a summer Hajj that you did? Was it during a hot season?
Yeah. It was summer. Yeah, it was one of the hottest summers.
Oh man.
Yeah, the sun is no joke. I went out one day for like a prayer. Like I went out for the Dhuhr one day, which is the after like the noon prayer. I didn't bring my hat, or I didn't bring my like kafaya or like my head wrap or anything like that. I just went out just to catch prayer, and I literally had a headache within like 5 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not a joke. It's like easily 100 like every day.
Mm-hmm.
For those people that really don't like white Muslims, I think this is like a good point in their favor. Like keep white people out of it. We'll just fry to a crisp.
Right. I'm black as hell, and I got a sunburn. Like I did not think I'd be able to get a sunburn, but that Meccan sun did it to me. So.
Yeah.
This is one of those great things about Hajj. It brings people together. Now you know the experience that we all suffer, you know? So
I know. I'm sorry to my Yakubian brothers. I apologize for my jokes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the stoning of the devil's the next thing, right? And that's, I think, kind of iconic. A lot of people find that kind of, I don't know, fun or interesting, you know?
So what is this involve?
That's actually one of the hardest days. Yeah, that's actually one of the hardest days. Like I thought, me too. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna jack this devil up, right? But it's one of the hardest days because they don't tell you how far these distances are, which is like, I think they should really let people know about that before. Like everything is at least like a mile walk, 2 mile walk. The from like Mina the tents to going to those stoning of the devil, which they're just like random pillars in like this huge complex. It's like a good, I want to say, 3 mile walk. Like it's not a joke, and there's like the sun there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the day when like people were like just dropping like flies. Like I saw a couple of people just drop. Like it's once again like it's 1 million people, right?
Yeah.
And you're all going along like what is basically like a highway. I would say about a quarter to a third of it is like covered, but like it's still hot as hell. And but the rest of it you're just out in the sun, and like people are just dropping.
Yeah, especially I imagine
that's
like
one of the hardest
older
days.
people and those people in ill health that you were talking about. That's got to be really difficult.
Yeah. Like there's don't get me wrong, right? Like there's thousands of like, I want to say Saudi police. Like I'm not sure what they are. I think they're just Hajj helpers or something like that. They're all in uniforms. They have like water bottles. They have water spray things. They have like mist creators like everywhere. But like it's like you can't fight nature, right? Like it's just the nature of Mecca is just grueling. Like it's not a place for. It would not be a city like if it wasn't for the Haram, right? If it wasn't for the Kaaba.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's one of the toughest days for anybody. Making that walk, that 3 mile, 4 mile, or something like that walk.
Yeah. So the stones and stuff that you throw, what's up with that? Like, where do you get those? Do they hand them out or something?
I mean, there's just like random stones everywhere. There's like pebbles. Some people just like hand them out and give them to people. But like you'll find like rocks everywhere.
Really? Because I would imagine that like they'd be picked pretty clean, you know?
No, I mean I don't know. I guess there's like a rock generator somewhere. I don't know. But
they respawn every year.
Yeah. Somebody's out there doing Minecraft shit. But it's no, there's just like pebbles everywhere. You can find them, and then like there's some people that just give you pebbles.
Mm-hmm.
But like it's weird. Like it's not what I expected. Like there's like the central pillar, right? These things which they're not that big, but like they're surrounded in like I can only explain it as like a times 100 like parking complex, I guess. Like it's like multi-level, just. I don't know, building, I want to say. I don't know, but that's like the actual place where you stone it, and like yeah, and then like in the middle it's just like this pillar that goes through like 4 floors high. So
yeah, and that pillar is the
it.
thing that's supposed to represent the devil, right? That's what you throw your stones at.
Right, like the devil. I don't know if it's Iblis or Satan himself, but like Muslims believe, like we believe that like the devil's actually tied there. And like you throw the stones at him and you're like rebuking him. So that's one of the main rituals. I think you do it 2 days in a row, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So
All right.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. It's fun. People go ham on that thing. Like some people are just like just trying to like do a fastball with those things. So.
That's what I'd be doing. I'd be trying out my curveball, see if I still got it.
I put a little bit of elbow grease into that when I threw it. So
yeah,
got my licks in.
That's good. And then there's a sacrifice, right? You have to sacrifice an animal.
Right. So there's so in like the general Mina area, like the tent city / the stoning of the devil area, there's also like a animal sacrifice place like right next to it. And then like usually you just purchase your thing. You don't have to go there and actually see it. I don't know if they let people even. I didn't go myself. I just bought. Everybody just buys a thing and like they let you know that it's been done. So
yeah, so someone can actually do that on your behalf, and that will count. You don't have. You don't have to
You don't do it yourself. It'd be impossible to do yourself.
Right.
Yeah. No. Yeah. They have. I think it's either a lamb or a camel or a goat or something like that. But yeah, they there's a lot of animals there. But that area is like totally self contained. So like if you're worried about like, oh, I don't want to see a goat. Or like I don't want to see a sacrifice. Like you'll never see it if you don't want to see it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I believe that meat is distributed to the poor.
Right. It's only for the poor. Yeah, it's only for the poor. They import like millions of animals from like all over to satisfy that. So.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Mm-hmm. And what's next after the sacrifice?
I believe you shave your head. That's when you shave your head. So usually most people have like either cut their hair short from the earlier umrah.
Mm-hmm.
Most people just hit a quick umrah just to like practice, I guess, and like just get it in. But if you haven't at that point, well, even if you have, you still have to like cut your hair. So for men, it's I believe the requirement is like only like a couple inches of your hair if you have long hair, but like usually you go bald. And then women just have to like cut like an inch off or something like that. So, yeah, there's like millions of like barbers, and they just do it right there for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's probably a good day for them.
Right. They make a lot of money. It's funny too because we had like this one guy in our Hajj group who had like this amazing head of hair. Right, like he looked like Cat Stevens basically. Like he was black. And like he was like totally against cutting his hair. Like it was just his thing. He's like, I'm only gonna cut the bare minimum, which is the only thing. Like he had his like sources up. But those guys like don't understand. Like they like 99% of them don't speak English, and they literally just take a razor to your head no matter what you say.
Sure.
Yeah.
And he got his head cut. He had his hair cut against his will. They just did it.
That's probably better for him anyways, like he's probably getting more benefit from that than having the nice hair. Plus
like you give away whatever makes you vain, right? So he learned a lesson that day.
Yeah.
I think it was good for him.
Yeah, plus it grows back, right? I mean, you're not really
Right.
losing anything.
No harm done.
Yeah, so that's the end of it, right? Like I think that's pretty much the end of like the milestones that you need to hit to have like a valid Hajj completed. Or am I missing something?
So I think the last things that you do is the tawaf. You do the circulate circumambulation, or I think it's called, around the Kaaba. You go around there, and I think you just read certain prayers that you read, and that's like one of the most amazing parts. So you're like around millions of people, just like orbiting the Kaaba. Yeah, that's like I don't know if you've ever seen like those GIFs or like those like
Sure.
like long motion
Yeah.
cuts or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's that's what you're seeing basically. And then you do the going between the hills again of Safa and Marwa. Well, they're not really hills anymore. They're like it's like totally self-contained. Like Saudi Arabia built like this whole big thing around it. So like you're indoors, but like the hills are indoors too. So it's like kind of weird.
Huh.
Yeah, so you get to one side, it's like a hill inside of a building. It's pretty weird. And then you do your farewell tawaf, like you go around the Kaaba again, and then that's it. You're officially a Haji. You're done with your requirements.
That's cool. So what is it like doing the tawaf around the Kaaba with all those people? What does that feel like?
Once again, like really like surreal. Like you're like so many things happen like around the Kaaba, right, in Islamic history. Like you read all of these world changing events that happened there, and like you're there and you're part of it, right? So it's definitely a very emotional and like and it's not like anything you've done before. Like all the other days, like you've made dua before, you made prayers before, but like tawaf is like a site specific type of worship that you've like never done before in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like very you just, it feels amazing. Like I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah,
you have to do it once.
I mean, there's like tons of people there crammed in, all doing it at the same time. Is there like does that take you out of it a little bit, or is it just such a powerful thing that you kind of forget that you're just like mashed in with all these people?
Surprisingly, like it's not like you're not packed like sardines, right? Like you have like your little personal space area around you, like there, because it's such a large structure. It's multi-level.
Mm-hmm.
And like usually everybody that like can't like older people that can't really walk, or like they walk really slow, there's like an army of like people that drive them around in like wheelchairs or like little cart type things. So like they're usually on the upper levels, and like everybody else that can like walk around like the 7 times is down there. So like it's not as like as you would expect. Like everybody's just at a brisk pace, so you're not really like bumping into people.
Okay, so it's not as chaotic, because people like talk about like trampling and that kind of stuff that happens.
So that does happen, but that happens directly around the Kaaba, like within arm's reach. So like a lot of people, like I don't know, like they're really ignorant and they think like touching the Kaaba is a requirement. So like there's a lot of people like doing weird Bruce Lee gymnastic like Dragon Ball moves to like get to it, right? Yeah. Like they're literally punching and elbowing their way to touch it, which is like there's like Hajj like attendants, like they're like screaming at them like, no, what are you doing, Haji? Yeah, like right around the Kaaba, like you'll probably catch an elbow to the face from like ignorant people.
That's so crazy to me. I mean, I feel like you're doing this once in a lifetime thing. It's like one of the more important things that you're ever gonna do in your life, and like you kind of just completely like just mess it up. I feel like, I mean, right. I'm sure they're still having a valid Hajj and all that, but it's just like, this is probably the time to be on your best behavior.
Right. I mean, the thing is though, like there's a lot of people like, I mean, like it's the whole Muslim world, right? Like in my experience, I've only been around, Western Muslims, like they all kind of have the same general outlook on the deen, or like they've all assimilated to the same outlook, but like over there's like the whole gamut of like Muslims, right? So yeah, you'll see a lot of things that people aren't really supposed to be doing, a lot of like odd practices from like different sects. But yeah, right around the Kaaba, like a lot of people just go ham. Funny thing is like I saw like, because naturally like bigger dudes will get there, right? It's usually like just bulky dudes that are able to elbow the way in. But like the one time I got really close, one of the most aggressive people I saw was like this little blonde lady who's like just elbowing people and like got to the thing. I was like, damn lady, like the hell are you doing? But yeah, it's right around it is where the fitna or the troubles are. But like everywhere else is like it's pretty dope.
Mm-hmm. And so after all of that, were you how were your legs? How was your health and stuff like that? Were you exhausted after all of this marching around and stuff, or is it
yeah, I mean it's not easy. It's not easy, like it's you're doing all this stuff, but alhamdulillah, like I guess maybe God made it easy for me. Like I wasn't that like down. Like you'll be tired at the end of it, but it's not like you're dying, right? So but yeah, it's pretty interesting. And then you like all of these things are like you go and you like, other than one night, you sleep at the end of it, right? Like it's not the whole day. So get your breaks.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
And so the thing that you're, I guess, circumambulating, whatever, is like we talked a bit about it, but like it's the Kaaba, and that's for people, I guess, that are like closer to my level. Like that's where people see the cube or whatever, right? Like on
Yeah.
And that was that like a temple originally of Abraham's. Like I know we talked a little bit about that it was the first Hajj there, but is that like was that like a site of it, like historically, like was it supposed to be? I don't really understand this, like in terms of like the ideology. Like, was that like supposed to be a site in the Jewish religion too, or something, or?
So I believe the Islamic account, I'm not sure if it was either Adam that built the first one or it was Ibrahim, but I know that the Islamic account is that Abraham or Ibrahim built it with his son Ismail
Mm-hmm.
or Ishmael, and that was where I think in the Bible too, he did exile his son and his other wife to the Arabian Peninsula, to the valley of Mecca or where Mecca is today.
Mm-hmm.
So we believe that he was the one that built it. But by the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it was basically the center of Arabian paganism.
Okay.
It had like over 360 idols. Even like Arab Christians and Arab Jews, they had like icons in there.
Okay.
It was just like a center of like Arabian
Sure.
trade and like civilization. So
Yeah.
But it wasn't like some sort of like, because if it is, I'm saying if it's Abraham, I was just thinking that like, did the Jews claim it as a site too, or was this something that was? Yeah, that was what was confusing for me. I'm not sure.
I actually don't know about that. It's possible that they did. I really don't know. I know the idea is definitely that Abraham rebuilt it, that it was a place that was like, like from the very early days of man, like
Sure.
it was like the first mosque kind of a thing,
Okay,
the first
okay.
place of worship. So yeah, I'm not really sure how that relates to like the Jewish people.
Mm-hmm.
right, I'm not sure. I've heard accounts that there was I'm not sure like the veracity of this, like even in Islamically, but I know there's an account that there was an icon of Jesus and Mary
Mm-hmm.
that was in there that was like taken out and like not destroyed with the rest of the idols.
Yeah,
But yeah, I'm not sure what Jewish people believed.
yeah, that's like supposedly according to this hadith, which I understand there's some debate about it, but the idea was that it was full of all these different idols that all these tribes brought and put inside the Kaaba, and Muhammad took all those out or destroyed them except for that image of Mary and Jesus.
Yeah, and this is the thing that Muslims orient themselves towards in prayer around the world, right? Too, like it's.
Yeah. So that's actually one thing I wanted to ask you about, Aqua, because that's something I always think about. It like if I were to go on Hajj, this is the place that I, point to when I pray, like, and have been doing for like every day. So it's just something to, I don't know. I feel like that would be something significant that would kind of be profound in some way.
Yeah, like they're like the whole city like prays in different directions, right? Because it's the center of the city, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's crazy. Like you're not praying in straight lines for normal prayers around the Kaaba. Like sometimes you can catch like a regular prayer there. Like you said, it's like the Kaaba's right there. That's like where you pray to. I don't know. It's kind of weird. Like the lines aren't straight. The imam is like, I think he stands at a certain corner. I think the same corner every time. I forget which one. It might be like directly in front of the black stone. I think so. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that.
About that. That makes sense.
But yeah, the lines aren't like straight. Like they're angled. And like if you go to a different part of the city, it's like a different corner basically. Like you can kind of tell if you like move directions in the city. So yeah, that's kind of a trip.
Yeah, like every place is gonna have to have its like
right
Qibla, like really carefully. Yeah. Huh.
And when you pray now, does that make it sort of more, I don't want to say real, but like it's kind of like you're like, oh yeah, I know where I'm, I've actually seen the place that I'm praying towards or something like that.
Right, it's not a conspiracy, right? No,
No.
no. I mean, yeah, it is. It is. I don't know. It's like weird. Praying to, like, you see the building that you pray to.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was wondering, like, so after you have this, this experience, like, do you feel different? Does it change you in some way?
Yeah, like I it did make me more. I don't know. It like reified things for me in a sense. Like I saw, the place where these events that I've always heard about all my life. Like I saw the building I pray to. I saw like these. I did the things that like I felt like I was part of like a chain, I guess, of like believers that like did these things. Yeah, and like that the day in Arafah is like very like I don't know. It's like just cuts out like the fake stuff, I suppose.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very very unique experience.
You do get an honorific though, don't you? Like it's like people can call you. I know.
You can call me Haji, but that term is a little
yeah.
But
These days, it's
among
not
Muslims, I
doing
can
too
get
well,
called Haji.
Yeah.
If you don't look Muslim to me, you can't call me Haji. Sorry. I don't know what you mean by that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mecca itself is very interesting too. Like Mecca, like just the city is like a trip. Like the geography of it, it's like really like what is going on type thing, I mean, it's like like a city between like 7 hills, I think, like something like that. But like you're like driving into it from Jeddah, right? And like you see this like massive like I think it's like all volcanic hills. It's like former volcanoes, so it's like just these massive jagged black hills. And then you see this city like surrounding like this just massive mosque area. So it's really weird. It's not
like
like
a big city,
American big. Like there's no like, because you know how like American cities, like there's like a core of suburbs and like a downtown area and all that stuff. It's kind of compact. And like there's that clock tower there. Like, oh man, yeah, that thing was that thing was massive. You if once you see it in person, you're like, why did they build this? Like, why is this massive thing like the biggest thing in my like field of view right now? Like, it's just weird. Yeah.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, I guess that's something that they've been building up. Hotels around the perimeter of the the Kaaba, and they've got like KFCs and Starbucks and all that kind of stuff. You see any of that?
Right. I mean, that's weird because I like I said, I like the first while I was there, I stayed in like one of the. It's like, because like the clock tower is like has a base kind of like it's like the building 7. It's like World Trade 7 if the clock tower was real to use a right. So I was like there. It's massive itself, and it's just weird. Like in a sense, like I get why they did it, because just going out and like doing like if you're doing tawaf or like you're praying at the mosque, right? Like it's like the sun is gonna like destroy your skull, like it's gonna fry your brain, and there's like 1 million people there, and like you just want like water or like you want food, right? So I get why there's like food places right next to it. Like I know people criticize like, oh, there's a KFC right there, but like I kind of get it. I don't know how you would do it. Like maybe there's a better way of doing it than having a KFC there, but I kind of get.
I know
like,
what you mean. Yeah,
to
be honest, I kind of feel the same way. It's like, well, people got to eat. KFC is a place to eat. People love fried chicken. What's wrong with that?
Right. Oh man, they love their fast food.
Oh
there.
yeah,
they love that. Yeah.
I should post a picture of it maybe tomorrow or something. But like, I have a picture of when I was in Xinjiang in Urumqi, and they had like a bazaar area kind of thing, like all the market area and all that, and it had like there's like a camel there and stuff too, and they had this like old looking minaret and all of this kind of stuff, and it's like the old Grand Mosque and stuff like that, and they had turned part of it into a KFC and stuff, and just had, like, so it has like this big KFC sign on this like Grand Mosque. But then I was reading about it on Wikipedia just the other day, and it said that like part of the stuff that they built, like that I thought was like ancient Islamic architecture or something like that kind of thing or whatever, right? Like, you know, like it had been there for centuries or something. It was just something that they built for tourists like recently or something. It wasn't even like it was like, I don't know. So it was kind of funny that I was like, oh man, they're like defacing this with the KFC, but it's like no, they built that with the KFC or something like that. So yeah.
CCP propaganda. I believe it.
Sure. Yeah.
Another thing I was wondering about is like the population of Mecca. Is it all, you know, like Saudi Arabs, or is it sort of like a mix of people? Like I imagine there's quite a few people who have moved there to be around the Kaaba, so maybe there's like a diverse kind of population of maybe immigrants isn't the right word, but like, you know, people who have kind of made their home there.
I think so it's kind of hard to tell who's like Meccan and like who's there for Hajj.
I guess that's true, especially during Hajj season. It's kind of hard to tell.
But actually, one of the things, and I guess I appreciated that they kicked us out of that tower. On the second part where we had to find our own hotel, like I had to go like basically to the outskirts of the city. Not really outskirts, but like a different part where like pilgrims don't really stay. So I did see like Meccans. I will say there's like a lot of Saudi Arabs, but like just the nature of the city. Over the years, there's like a lot of like immigration, so there is like somewhat of a diverse population. It's like I think it's some East Africans, some West Africans, like that are there, and then like some other Arab type people that were there. It is a little bit more diverse than like a regular Saudi city, just because of the historic nature of it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But that also brings me to one of the points. I don't want to say I didn't like about the Hajj because it has nothing to do with the Hajj, but like just how the city, I guess, is administered. I want to say, there is a very stark difference between, you know, the central Haram area, the towers, and then like where like some Meccans live. Yeah, I don't know what they're doing with their money. That Saudi government, like it's like why do people live like this? Like at one point, I saw a man eating out of a trash can, right? Like I saw like very stark poverty in like the hills where like Meccans live. So I'm like, what is going on here? And like, what is the government doing? And like, why is like our holy city like in this kind of state, right? So I really did not like that when I was out in that part of the city.
Yeah, that's a real shame. I mean, you'd think even just for appearance's sake that they would kind of take care of that. Right.
Like even when you're driving into the city, there's like I said, like on those volcanic hills, it's like just bombed. Like it. I mean, Saudi is a very rich country, right? Like they're up there when it comes to like GDP per capita. And then you look out into those hills, like where some people are living. I don't know if they're native Saudis. I don't know if they're like where they just shove all the immigrants, but it's a damn shame what's going on out there. Yeah, I don't know what to say about that. And even like inside of the city, it makes you wonder, like, if you have all these billions of dollars, right? Like, why is the city's transportation system like really such a disarray, right? There's a lot of things that just kind of make you raise your eyebrows in a sense.
Yeah. Yeah, so you spent an extra couple weeks afterwards?
Right. So I spent a little bit more time in Mecca, and then I went out to Medina, which is the other holy city, and I spent like a week there as well. Most people usually go to Medina afterwards.
Yeah, that's not like technically part of a Hajj thing, right? Like that's just something, you know, while you're in the area, you might as well, right?
Right. You can leave after your farewell tawaf. You're done after that point, but like you said, you're in the area, so you might as well see the Prophet city.
Okay, was that like different? Was it, you know, what was that like?
Oh, totally different vibe. Totally different vibe. It's like night and day.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, it's totally different. Mecca, there's like, I don't know, there's like this, like Mecca has like, the Hajj has like another massive population. Like, I'm not saying this to be like, I don't know, like classes or something like that, but there's like this other population of like I want to say migrant people. I don't know how to explain it. There's like a huge migrant population that's like begging, I guess, in a sense, in the haram, like when you're there as well. I don't know, it's like weird, like I don't know, there's like some weird things going on sometimes, but like Medina has like none of that, and like there's not the trillion people that are there. Like only like maybe 10% of the people go there afterwards. And like it's like a lot like better city civil design, and like there's a Prophet Mosque, which is like much like calmer vibe. A lot of the graves of like the companions of the Prophet are there. Like I don't know, it's just a much different vibe than Mecca. I want to say better, but it's just different.
Yeah, that's cool. That sounds nice.
Yeah, that was actually one of the most like moving moments as well, seeing the graves of like the companions. You can see like almost all of them. You go out there and you know they say like, you know, this is so and so who died during this battle. I saw like the grave of Hamza, who was like martyred.
Wow.
And that's very moving as well.
That's cool. Medina is a very like beautiful city, isn't it? Like it's the, maybe I'm not quite sure if like, you know, I've only seen this from like videos and stuff, but it's either Mecca or Medina or both, but they have like those Star Wars umbrellas and all that. You know what I'm talking about? Like,
right, that's Medina. Yeah, Medina's the one with the
that's Medina
with the Tatooine Star Wars umbrellas and stuff that open and close. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, that seems very cool. Like it just seems like it really looks like a sci-fi city or something.
Yeah, it is.
So what is this? Sorry. What are the umbrellas?
They're
just like shade, you know, like sun umbrellas.
Okay.
But they're huge, and they have them like all over this area, just to kind of like protect people. You know, it's not just like a little umbrella. Like they're very tall towers, and they open and close and stuff, and they are just, you know, designed. They like I've been saying, they look like something out of Star Wars or whatever.
Yeah, that does kind of worry me in a way. I mean, I'm sure it's cool there, but that makes me feel like that's what our future is with like climate change and whatnot. Like just getting, just like I'll be walking around downtown and then the giant umbrella will open because they know that it's going to be sunny that day or something. I don't know. Yeah.
Don't you live in Canada? You're just gonna get slightly warmer, aren't you? It'll be like Virginia. It's not that bad.
It's pretty hot here. It's pretty hot. It's getting hot. Like right now in Western Canada, it's just crazy. I don't know. So yeah.
Worst case scenario would be like Florida. It'll be fine.
Sure.
Yeah, you only have to wear 2 coats when you're out and stuff.
Right.
Sure.
But yeah, Medina is really interesting. The Prophet's Mosque is like great, and like there's a Prophet's grave there as well. That was like amazing, like crazy to see that as well.
Yeah, I've never seen any pictures or anything of that. What is it like?
It's like behind like a gate, like I don't know if it's golden or something, but like this gilded bronze gate. You know, it's the Prophet Prophet's grave and Omar's grave and Abu Bakr's grave. The 3 of them there, and you only get like a little bit of time to go there because like I said, there's like people that do weird things there, and like the Saudi government doesn't like it, or like maybe it's like a sect thing. But like they shuffle people in and out really fast. But you can see the Prophet's grave, you know, say your salam to him.
I wonder how the Shia feel about Abu Bakr and Omar being right there.
I'm sure they have interesting opinions.
Yeah, they're probably not too happy about it.
Yeah.
Is the mosque well taken care of?
Yeah. Like I said, like whatever Saudi prince was like assigned to Medina is like actually doing his job. Like they put one of the more competent princes there, I guess, maybe, I don't know, but like the city's like night and day with like the transportation and like the roads and like everything. It's like way different. It's kind of like modern city in a sense. And then you know, there's a Prophet's grave, and it's like really really big too. Like the haram, I don't know if it's smaller, but like I guess maybe like people aren't like go in like a circle and like doing tawaf around it, so it's just like maybe the space just fits more people. But like yeah, it's really chill. Like you just go there and you do your prayers, and it's really nice. It's like a cool, calm vibe. I think it's like actually cooler too as a city, like the climate wise. So,
Is it an active mosque? Like, it's used for like, they have Friday prayers and regular prayers and stuff.
Yeah, like every prayer. Like I was there for a couple of days, and I was just doing every prayer and just like chilling. Like it's a chill place to be.
Yeah, so it's not just like a historical, like a museum sort of a thing. It's like a real mosque.
All of the like even the Mecca like the haram and stuff. It's not like you just look at it and like go. It's like they're all actively used spaces, right? So
yeah, that's cool. And Medina also has like the big religious university, right?
Right.
University of Medina is like the big school that everybody wants to go to get their credentials.
Right. I actually didn't see it because I think I was just around the mosque and like hitting the historical sites. It might not be in town. I'm not sure if it's in town actually. Might like be like in a suburb or something like that. But I know that's there. There's a lot of like student looking people there, so maybe I just saw it and I didn't notice it. But yeah, it's there as well.
Cool. Any KFCs?
Bro, they love their chicken, man. They have their own chicken lines. Like, they have their own like, there's like their own like, what's it called, like bake or something like that. It's like this weird, like not like chicken sandwich place that they love. It's like KFCs and stuff.
Okay.
They love their fast food. So
like
if you're American, like you'll feel at home.
That's cool. What about like Saudi food? Like, did you get a sense of any like kind of Saudi cultural things that you liked? Like, did Saudi food or anything like that?
They're like rice. I don't know the name of the dishes. Like I was there with like my like laughable Arabic, just like trying to get a couple words together in like my classical Arabic. But
yeah. I imagine that'll humble you pretty quick.
Yeah.
Like, oh, yeah, I don't know anything.
The thing is, though, like, nobody knows Arabic, kind of like everybody coming in as well. So,
sure. There's
a lot of like, Haji, like pointing at stuff. They have their own like sign language that you kind of like learn by the end of it. But,
yeah, sure.
But, yeah, there's a lot of like rice and like chicken dishes and like stuff like that. So,
all right.
Pretty interesting.
Cool. So you spent the next 2 weeks, like you spent the whole time in Medina?
Yeah, like I went to the date farms of Medina and like the farms that I think like the Prophet and like some of the companions of the Prophet like actually owned and like had the dates. Like the date market is really, really nice. There's like a trillion variety of dates that you can eat. I think like
I bet those are good dates.
Yeah, like the Ajwa dates, I think like don't quote me, like don't kill me Muslims listening later, but I think maybe the Prophet actually like cultivated some of them. I'm not sure, but like there's
I
like
think
these,
that's correct.
Right. So like there's like descendant of those trees there, and like you can eat some of those dates. So yeah, like that was good. I had a bunch of those. I had like Zamzam water from Mecca, and I was eating it with that. Like I had the whole blessing.
Oh yeah, we didn't talk about the Zamzam water. Are you familiar with that at all, Don?
No idea. No.
You want to school him on Zamzam water?
So Zamzam, like I said, Abraham or Ibrahim, salam, the Prophet, he left his wife there, Hajj, and she was looking for water for her son, Ismail, and the account goes that she was going through these hills 7 times, like just looking for water sources, and then she left her son in one area, Ismail, and story goes that the angel Gabriel came and like struck at the ground with his wing, and like a fount like came up from there, and Hajar saw that, and then she went to like stop the water from like flowing away. I guess she like cupped it with her hands, and she was saying like Zamzam, which is like stop. And then that just became like the well of Zamzam. So like all of the water in and around the Kaaba is like sourced from like this deep artesian well, which is the Zamzam well, which has been there for like thousands of years. So like you can drink that at any time. It's like blessed. I think it's considered blessed in Islam. So everybody wants to get that.
Yeah, it's got some unique properties from what I understand. And of course, there's like a lot of kind of woo woo science around it, people trying to like make different claims and whatnot. So I don't know what's true and what's not true, but I understand like it has pretty unique properties just like from the mineral content or whatever. And it's also like pretty. Like it's the only source of water in that area, and it's kind of like that is remarkable in some way. Like, forgive me, I don't know I'm not an expert on any of this, but yeah, I understand that it's kind of, even if you aren't like Muslim and you don't like share this kind of like concept of it being part of that thing, it's just kind of an interesting phenomena in itself.
Right. The water like hits, like, I mean, it's hot outside and like it's the only water to drink, so it's like, damn, this is great water. So yeah, I like, people like take a bunch with them. Like we took a bunch, and then the Dubai authorities lost it at the airport from us. So that was I was pretty mad about that. But
oh man,
yeah, it's another strike against the UAE regime. But yeah, I took a bunch, and I was drinking it a bunch when I was there. So, and I was drinking it with those delicious dates. So that was fun as well.
Yeah, I've never had an ajwa date, so like we get like the Mejdul dates are like the best ones we can get here in the West that I typically see, and then there's some other kinds. Nothing wrong with them, but I don't know. From what I understand, it's not quite as good as the ajwa dates, and especially like when they're fresh, like that's a whole other thing too. So
right, there's like 1,000 varieties of dates. There's like fresh dates. There's like weird like things they do with dates. Like, I don't know. It's just like, it's like a date culture there, that's one of the main foods. So like I was just trying out a bunch of different ones at their different markets there. It's really nice. There's like fields of like date trees outside of Medina that you can like go and see.
That's cool.
Yeah, were there any questions on the thing? Like, did you want to get to that one, or what were you thinking?
Yeah, sure. So there is one question that we have here in our enormous mailbag about Mecca specifically. So yeah, let's start off with this one. It says, what is life like for Muslims living in Mecca? Do they go on Hajj every week or so?
So like I said, I did have family members who were like in the vicinity of Hijaz, so I did see them. They're like a little bit outside of Mecca, and like I don't know what the government regulates, but I know that they were saying that they can hit Hajj pretty frequently. There was a certain day within our Hajj stay that like all of like the locals came, like all the Saudis flooded in, and like a good amount of them come. Like they're a good percentage of the people that actually come to Hajj. And so they can do the Hajj, I think, without restrictions.
Right. But like Hajj has to be that certain time of year, right? Like it has to be during the month,
right,
and
right.
like there's certain days you do the certain things. So if it's going to be like a Hajj, that it has to be on those same days as everybody else. But right. I guess you could do Umrah,
No, I mean, they can,
as much as
I think they can just waltz in that day where it like starts that you have to go in. I think you have to get out of the city limits because to enter the state of Ihram, it has to be within a certain area. So like they'll just do a loop out, like a drive an hour out or something to Jeddah or something like that, and they'll just don their clothes and then just be Hajis from that point on.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, in terms of what life is like for them, if you meant like what like regular life is, like I said, there's some poverty out there, which I didn't really quite understand where this huge oil state was really doing for their citizens, but there is a lot of like regular middle class citizenry as well. So I guess it's like a normal city in that respect.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, that was really it that we had for like specific Hajj questions. I mean, people wanted us to do an episode about it, but I think that was the only thing that kind of came in to the questions back. Although, let me check the Discord real quick. All right, yeah, so there is a Discord question here. Maybe we've answered this before on a Patreon episode, but I'll just kind of do this real quick. It says, Tom, do you have any plans regarding Hajj? How do your feelings on Saudi Arabia politically affect that? So, yeah, I'd be actually interested to hear your opinions about that too, Ak, about the politics of Saudi Arabia and stuff. But, I mean, I don't have immediate plans to make the Hajj. Like we've kind of talked about, it does cost a little bit, so that's something I would have to save up for. But, yeah, definitely at some point I would like to do that. Like we said, it is kind of one of the pillars of Islam. It's something that you're obligated to do if you can. So, yeah, it's definitely like on my to-do list. As far as like my feelings on Saudi Arabia politically, that doesn't really affect the Hajj thing so much for me. Like I know for a while that was like a thing to like boycott Hajj. That was like a thing on Twitter for a while. I think that's kind of ridiculous. I don't like a lot of what the Saudi government does, especially like bombing Yemen and, funding all these like Al Qaeda groups and all that kind of stuff. That's, that is what it is, but it's sort of like, I live in the US. I don't really like the US government for a lot of things that it does either, but that's not going to be like my primary determination on, how I conduct myself and stuff. So.
Right. Like, are we gonna? I mean, like I'm pretty sure all of our readers or listeners live in like Western or like Western adjacent countries, right? There's a lot of things that these governments do that aren't ideal, right? So, I don't know, the concept of like boycotting a religious rights because of like what a government does is like, I don't know, it just doesn't seem right to me, I guess, in a sense. I mean,
it's I feel like that's something that the Prophet would have mentioned somehow. Like,
right. I mean, it's been occupied by like awful regimes before, right? Like there's been pretty bad guys running the area, and historically, and that didn't stop people from going to the Hajj. So I think I think there's better things that we can do than boycott the Hajj, which doesn't even make a large percent of their economy. If you think that's gonna, affect them in that way.
Yeah, and Hajj is like an important part of like the global community for Muslims. So if you like kind of cutting that, I don't know, there's a lot of benefit to be gained from that. You know what I mean? Like if you're trying to build like solidarity internationally, I feel like Hajj should play a role for that. And deciding to boycott it you'd lose the benefit of that. So, I mean, Malcolm X and Hajj, like that's a big thing, right? Like that was an important part of his his transformation ideologically in the last years of his life. So like if he kind of took the route of like, well, the Saudi government is reactionary, blah blah blah, then that wouldn't have happened. So
that's actually one of the things. Oh, I didn't mention that actually. Seeing the millions of different like types of people there, that was really interesting as well. Yeah, there's like a lot of like Muslim types of Muslims like I've never seen before. Like I saw people from like Tuaregs from like the Sahara, like wearing their like clothes, and like people from Southeast Asia and stuff like that, and like a lot of people from China. That was pretty interesting. Although I didn't like some groups mobbing practices, which I won't name names, but when you link arms and make like a huge block of people, they tend to run people over. So you know who you are. Don't do that anymore.
Rugby players from the UK or something.
We actually did, like, I think we had like because so the way they like arrange you in the Hajj is like by country, like when you're in Mina, the tent city. So like they'll put like America next to Canada and Australia and like New Zealand, stuff like that. Like that's a group. And like the Arab countries are a group, and like other like whatever, right? And like South Asia is like another area, right? So like when we were there, like there's a lot of like New Zealand Muslims there. So there's a lot of like rugby looking dudes. They might have been rugby players.
Did they have an area for Israeli Muslims? I'm imagining not.
They might have come under the Arab countries, all the Semite countries. But
there's all the Arabs are just grouped together. Okay.
Right. The funny thing was though, because I was actually raising my eyebrows a little bit at this. Everything was kind of like cultural or like geographical, like Western countries, right? South Asia, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, India, right? The funny thing was to me though that they put Iran with the African countries, so it's just like the Iranian tents surrounded by the African tents. I was like, huh, what do they mean by that? That's pretty funny.
Yeah, so I guess another thing is like the whole, with the Saudi government and their position on like the Shia, and there's a lot of stories that often happen about how they like try to kind of stop the Shia from making the Hajj and all that kind of thing, and just generally persecute the Shia people. Did you notice anything going on like that, or like, I don't know, could you even tell if there was any Shia Muslims there? Was there anything notable around that?
So Iran is like what, like vast majority like Shia, right? Like at least 70-80% plus, right? So the Iranian 10 area.
But like, oh,
what's up?
Sorry, I was just gonna say like, but there's also like Iraq, other places have like substantial Shia population.
Right. I couldn't tell. I mean, everybody's wearing the same thing, right? Like you're gonna be able to like, there's no like Shia sign on their head, right? But I know because I did get lost in Mina one day, so like I did like a tour of like every area. I know the Iranian tent area was fairly large, so if they were limiting it, I wouldn't be able to tell. Like it did look like they have a significant amount of people there. In terms of like, I don't know what their Hajj rituals are like, so I don't know if they're like being stopped from doing something. I do know that at the Prophet's Prophet's grave, they did not let people do certain things. There were some people trying to do certain things. I don't know what they were doing, but they would like stop and like do something else, and they, like the guards there would like immediately stop them. And then like other times when I was doing tawaf or like I was just doing different rituals, there'd be like, because everybody's like grouped up with their group or like country, right? There would be people like who would stop and like do something different. Like they would do their own. I don't know if they were just stopping or if they were stopping to do some type of ritual. I don't know. But like the guards would immediately be like, hey, like kick rocks, like keep it moving, right? So yeah, in terms of like if they have a specific Shia thing that they do, I don't know of it. But as far as I can tell, there was like plenty of Shias there. I mean, there's a bunch of Iranians there. In terms of the other Arab countries, like it's only grouped by country, so I wouldn't be able to tell you like sect wise what they were. There's plenty of Iraqis there though.
Sure. Okay. Did you get a sense of kind of like that they were pushy about like their interpretation of Islam or anything? Like, did you get a sense that they were being kind of like, I don't know, like the whole like Wahhabi thing, did you feel like they were pushing that or no?
Well, they don't have different Hajj rituals than like average, like regular Sunnis, right? I think like they actually like whatever, like the Saudi official government like practices like technically a form of like Hanbali Islam. So I don't think like madhab wise or like school of thought wise that they differ at all. So it wasn't different than any standard Sunni practice as far as I can tell. But like in terms of like Saudi specific things, I mean just the geography of it, right? Like so the graves of the Sahabas were all leveled because they don't allow for like they have like this weird thing about grave sites. So like they were all, when I was there, like all of the graves were like just utterly destroyed. There weren't like there's only like these like stone markers there. When before that, like there was actual like things built up on them. In Mecca, like as you know, like all of the old like Khadija radiallahu anha, her house was like destroyed to like build stuff on top of it. So like in that sense, yeah, like it's very obvious like they totally changed how the place looks. But like in terms of like worship practices, like I didn't see anything. They did have a lot of like huge mega like portraits of like their king and his like idiot son like everywhere. They did have that like huge portraits of them like on every corner. But
yeah, Arabs love that stuff. It was the same thing in Jordan.
Right.
Just huge portraits of the king just like posted up on like a big building.
Yeah, what can you do? But yeah, that was the only like intrusive Saudi thing that I basically saw.
All right. All right, so we'll just wrap it up with this last question. It's 2035, and your dream of an Islamo-Catholic emirate has happened, but now you must contend with Polytheististan, a state that's an oppressive dictatorship made up of all the major polytheistic world religions. They are oppressing monotheists, banning Qurans and Bibles, and worst of all, their witches and warlocks are casting curses. How do you respond?
I don't know. I guess I would say nuclear first strike, I guess.
All right.
Yeah.
You're right to the big guns.
Sure.
Sure, yeah. It seems like there are monotheists living in that area, though, if they are oppressing them.
I think, yeah, then they'll be martyrs, I guess. Yeah.
I have a simple solution for this.
Yeah?
So I would go in there, right? And obviously I would do, as a Haji, have that special aura about me.
Mm-hmm.
I would go to their leader and I'd ask him to, martyr me. And he wouldn't be able to do it. I have my aura. The arrows would break. The guns wouldn't hit me. The bullets wouldn't hit me. And I would tell him that he would have to, say the Shahada before he wants to shoot me. And once he does that, I'll be martyred. And the people will see and they will all convert. And the Polytheistan won't be anymore. So just own them and collapse their government with no bullets shot.
Foolproof. I like it.
Can we nuke at least one city? just get one in there, please. Yeah.
Yeah, with Ak there, and we nuke it while he's there, and it's just like, there's like a force shield around him that just protects him.
Sure.
Right, I'd be protected.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, you could do that as well.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
But I'm pretty sure the Ukraine is pretty irradiated at this point, so I don't know if that would work.
Yeah. Sure.
Cool. All right, problem solved. See? Easy stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, thanks for coming on, Ak. That was a really fun episode. I learned quite a bit. It was nice to hear all those stories and stuff.
Yeah, thanks. And I'm glad that we finally got to it. Sorry that we had to keep kind of canceling and whatnot, but I'm glad that we got through it and learned a lot and whatnot. So it was a lot of fun. Thanks.
Nice to be there. Nice coming here. So appreciate it. You gonna come to Hajj now, Don?
I don't know if I'm allowed, but we'll see. Yeah.
We'll sneak you in.
I can just hang out at the city limits or something and wave at you or something.
You can be the greeter, right? The Walmart greeter.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, cool. Sounds good. Okay, guys, so if you enjoyed this episode and you'd like a second episode every week, you can get that by subscribing to our Patreon. You'll get that as well as access to our Discord, where you can chat with us in our lovely community, including Ak. He's in there quite a bit. If you want to send us questions that we answer anonymously on here, you can do that by going to our Twitter account at YouCan'tWinPod, and you'll find a pinned tweet there that links to the Curious Cat. You can send the questions over there. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you again next time.
Thanks, guys.
Peace.